Ukraine war latest. Hypersonic missiles planned for UK in £400 million package as Russia reveals date for peace talks. The war in Ukraine continues to evolve on two parallel tracks: escalation in weapons capability and renewed whispers of diplomacy. This week, both forces collided. On one side, Britain signaled a major leap in deterrence, unveiling plans for hypersonic missile development as part of a £400 million defense package. On the other, the Kremlin announced that new peace talks will take place next week, a declaration timed conspicuously ahead of the high-stakes Munich Security Conference. Between those headlines lies a deeper question: is this a pivot point, or just another turn in a long war defined by sharp rhetoric and sharper weaponry? Britain bets on speed. The United Kingdom's latest defense package underscores how profoundly the war in Ukraine has reshaped European security doctrine. Hypersonic missiles, capable of traveling at more than 5 times the speed of sound and maneuvering unpredictably, represent the next frontier in modern warfare. For years, such weapons were symbols of superpower competition between Russia, China, and the United States. Now, the UK's planned investment signals that European allies no longer see advanced missile technology as optional. They see it as essential. Though the package is framed as bolstering Britain's long-term security, its strategic message is unmistakable. Europe is preparing for a future in which high-speed, high-precision deterrence is non-negotiable. The timing is no coincidence. Moscow sets a date. As London sharpens its arsenal, Moscow is adjusting its messaging. The Kremlin has announced that new peace talks will take place next week. Details remain sparse, including location and agenda, but the announcement alone reverberates through diplomatic circles. War fatigue is real. Casualty numbers are staggering. Economic pressures are persistent. Still, history tempers optimism. Since the full-scale invasion began in 2022, multiple rounds of negotiation have surfaced and collapsed. Each side has used diplomacy as both shield and sword, sometimes to buy time, sometimes to test resolve. Yet this moment feels slightly different. The peace overture arrives just as Western leaders gather in Munich, a conference long regarded as Europe's security nerve center. The juxtaposition of hypersonic missile announcements and peace talk scheduling encapsulates the strange duality of modern conflict: preparation and negotiation unfolding simultaneously. Rubio's diverging tone. Adding another layer of intrigue is the arrival of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Munich summit. Rubio's tone on Europe, according to early remarks, has diverged noticeably from other members of the Trump administration. Where some voices have emphasized transactional alliances and burden sharing, Rubio appears to be stressing partnership continuity and collective security. That tonal shift matters. Washington's posture influences everything from weapons transfers to sanctions enforcement to NATO cohesion. If Rubio signals steadier transatlantic alignment, it could reassure European capitals wary of wavering U.S. commitment. In diplomacy, nuance is power. A softened phrase can calm markets. A sharpened one can rattle them. The hypersonic paradox. Here lies the paradox. As peace talks are scheduled, weapons development accelerates. Hypersonic systems are not battlefield tools of tomorrow. They are deterrent statements for decades. By committing £400 million now, Britain is not responding solely to current front lines in Ukraine. It is responding to a geopolitical reordering that the war has accelerated. The invasion redrew assumptions about territorial security in Europe. It forced NATO members to rethink readiness, stockpiles, and technological gaps. Hypersonic capability represents both fear of vulnerability and desire for strategic balance. Peace talks may address ceasefire lines. They do not erase strategic mistrust. Strategic signaling on all sides. Moscow's announcement of negotiations serves multiple audiences. Domestically, it projects openness to dialogue. Internationally, it positions Russia as a rational actor willing to talk. But it also tests Western unity. Will allies soften military commitments in anticipation of talks? So far, the answer appears to be no. The UK's missile investment suggests that European leaders see diplomacy not as a substitute for deterrence, but as a complement to it. They're signaling that negotiations, if they succeed, will be backed by strength. Meanwhile, Washington's evolving tone introduces uncertainty. A unified NATO stance strengthens Kiev's leverage. A fractured one weakens it. The Munich gathering will likely clarify which direction the wind is blowing. A war at an inflection point? Is next week's dialogue a breakthrough moment or merely a procedural formality? Optimists argue that sustained battlefield stalemate creates conditions for negotiation. Pessimists note that neither side has publicly conceded core demands. Ukraine seeks restoration of territorial integrity. Russia insists on recognition of altered realities on the ground. Between those positions lies a vast gulf. Yet even symbolic talks can reshape momentum. They influence investor confidence, humanitarian access, and domestic political narratives across Europe and beyond. In war, perception is nearly as powerful as artillery. Europe's new reality. The deeper story may not be whether talks succeed, but how Europe is changing regardless. Defense budgets are rising. Military-industrial partnerships are expanding. Technological competition is intensifying. Hypersonic missiles are not merely weapons, they are markers of a continent recalibrating its identity from post-Cold War complacency to strategic vigilance. The UK's £400 million commitment encapsulates that shift. Peace talks may come and go, but the structural changes to European security architecture appear permanent. Watching Munich. All eyes now turn to Munich. There, in corridors lined with diplomats and defense officials, the competing narratives of war and peace will collide. Rubio's remarks will be parsed. European leaders will coordinate messaging. Ukrainian representatives will press for sustained support. Russian statements will be scrutinized for sincerity. And somewhere in the background, engineers will continue designing missiles capable of crossing continents in minutes. The uncertain week ahead. Next week's scheduled talks offer a glimmer of possibility. But they arrive in a world more heavily armed and more technologically advanced than when the war began. The United Kingdom is investing in speed. Russia is offering dialogue. The United States is recalibrating its tone. Europe is gathering to define its future. Whether this moment becomes a turning point or just another chapter depends on what happens when words meet reality. For now, the headlines capture the tension perfectly.